All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to not only one of the most famous intersections in New York City, but one of the most famous intersections in the world. This is the intersection of Broad Street and Wall Street. This is the financial capital of the world. Over my right shoulder is the New York Stock Exchange, the largest stock exchange in the world. It's been here for over 250 years in some form or another. This building was built in 1903 and it is still in use today. The worth of the stock exchange as of 2 years ago was $15 trillion. It's an inconceivable amount of money that passes through those doors every single day. And the people walking around here, many of them are involved in that. Some of them are, some of them aren't. Some of them like to think they're important, but most of them are involved in handling the money of the stock exchange right here on Broad Street. We always talk about Wall Street when we talk about the stock exchange, but the actual building, the address is on Broad Street. This street right here is Wall, and even though it does back up to Wall Street, it's actually on Broad Street. Now, this stock exchange rarely gets shut down, but last year, about 6 months ago in October 29th and 30th, the stock exchange was shut down for 2 days following Hurricane Sandy. The last time the stock exchange was shut down for 2 days due to weather was in 1888. It takes hell or high water to shut down this stock exchange, and it doesn't happen that often. The history of this intersection is so much more diverse than just about money, though. However, the second building that we're going to look at is the one directly behind you, and I'll reorient myself so that you have a better look at it. This is 23 Wall Street. Now, this building decided that it was going to distinguish itself from its neighbors by being short. In fact, it's only 4 stories tall. It is the headquarters of the JP Morgan Bank, or it was built as the headquarters of the JP Morgan Bank in the early 1900s. 1913 to be exact, when at the time, buildings were getting taller and taller and taller. JP Morgan decided to distinguish himself not only by building a short building, but by not putting his name on it anywhere, because he knew he was so popular that everybody would know whose building it was without having his name on it. Now, recognizing that he might need a bigger building at some point, Morgan actually had this building engineered with foundations that could support a 40-story building. And even though they never had to do that, in the late 1950s it was combined with the building behind it, an L-shaped building, and in 2003 it was turned into fancy condominiums. There's now actually a pool on the top of this low part of the building to serve the fancy condominiums of the higher building behind it. Before this building was built here, it was actually an oyster house, Downing's Oyster House. And why is this significant? Because it was run by a black man in the 1800s. He was so popular. Everybody came from the stock exchange, from City Hall, to eat his oysters because apparently they were delicious. But at the same time that he was serving wealthy businessmen, he was also saving slaves as a stop on the Underground Railroad, helping them get to even more northern states and even Canada in order to be saved, and constantly supporting the abolitionist movement. Downing is, and that was what was here before this building. Let's move over to another spot so we can get a better look at the 2 other big buildings at this intersection.